Okay, okay, people, this is part 3. So you now know about, good vibrations, as they tell you, good, basically happy. Just think of it as happiness and joy and all that stuff. All right, that is one of your weapons, people. Again, going back to the first part of this is just what I would say. Of course, if somebody were to ask me, what I thought was going on and how best to handle it and stuff like this. Well, I don't have all the answers, but I do have some. So unless you can say, and I'll say it again, you've been heavily surveilled, oppressed and suppressed for 7 years, and you've been separated from your family and don't know when or if you'll even be ever able to see them again. And that's just for starters. Unless you can say your home and your treasures and all your cash and all your home business and internet accounts and bank accounts and everything was taken from you in a day, including your doggies and your cars, and then chased like wild game around and around and around with clear attempted hits on you. When you can say all of that, then you're more than welcome to come sit right in front of me and ask me, who the hell are you? Because people, until you have experienced, which no one should ever have to, all of that, of which I am still experiencing. And just like a little while ago, as you heard in the second part of this, it took 56 seconds for the low-flying, spotlight-carrying helicopter to come right over, as it does every day, each time. Again, as I'll say, I turn on a device, my phone or a computer or what have you. I'm not doing anything wrong. I never have. And you know what? If there's any whatever that exists that says I did, it's just one more piece of treason and crime and crimes against humanity that these beings are doing. I call them beings because they just don't deserve to be called people, because they're not, actually. And for that, let me just put it this way, for that shill that's going to come to me and say, well, have you seen them? Let me give you an answer. Yes, I have. Have you? So this is just what I would say. Of course, if anybody asked me what I thought was going down at the moment or whatever. But only as I can translate and comprehend it, this nation is under attack. Spreading of information is great, but because the Shill deployment that has happened recently is literally, I can't believe that there's actually beings that do that, has been deployed and is corrupting all of that and confusing, innocent human beings even more. They're just lower than the lowest of lowest of lowest of scum. It is unbelievable. So let me give you a little something to that you can picture to try to make it a little easier for you. Now just go with me on this, all right? Let's just say, well, before I go into that, let me mention one thing. Somebody asked me this one time too, and I just told them, hell no, because I just, well, let me put it, I don't like to say the word president, but I mean, because I don't like the sound of it, because there's just too many bad memories. But, I don't I can't even think of anyone who would even want that job. It is just hell no, But I mean, if to go back on my what I just said there, I mean, of course, I always followed up with if nobody could do it or wanted to do it or whatever, and we were left hanging in the lurch. And you have to be one of the future. You need to have some kind of general sound knowledge of all, not just things in general, but like what I was mentioning earlier, like alchemy and theology and gematria and numerology and astrology, astronomy, all this stuff. If you don't, how are you going to be able to, watch out for a country, let alone yourself? First thing something goes wrong, all these different individuals grab him or her, and control's gone. I mean, the first thing I'd say is, just freaking back up. Just anyway. No, I would. If I had to, yes, but I would not want that job anyway. But if I did have it, after being handed it, this is the thing. This is the only problem I have with the current one. I could have remedied this whole mess in less than 2 minutes by something which is very legal and which they made. So in other words, this whole mess can be wiped out in less than 2 minutes with one signature, as long as it's all pre-printed out. And it's with a power that they themselves made. That would be instant, great, gratifying karma. But you just wonder how much knowledge is really had. You wonder how much control is really had. And that's the only thing that disappoints me right now. Because frankly, I just don't hear hardly anything. Anyway, go with me on this if you would. Because this was another thing that was put to me. I mean, you say, well, what kind of scenario would you arrive at if you had to paint one as far as what's going on? I don't know if you're hearing all that in the background, but no doubt those are scare tactics. There's no fear to be had here. Okay, here we go. Let's say, now I'll still cover the movie thing, don't worry. Let you know kind of what that is. Let's say, just for example, that there was 2 supernatural beings. One of them said, I'd kind of like to have that place. Meaning, where we are. Earth, Gaia, Terra, whatever you want to call it. The other one says, I'm sorry. That place and they, meaning us, belong to me, and yeah, I'm just not interested. Well, I tell you what. The other being says, you say they're with you, but what if I could show you that they wouldn't necessarily be with you? That ultimately they'd want to be with me. Could I have it then? Well, what if this being said, okay, being so sure, and he or she is very correct. I think all of our hearts are in the right place, but this is the thing. So if they were to come up with some type of contract, let's say, a contract that says as long as all the parties are informed and understand of what I am gonna do to that place, and as long as all the people give their consent, are we good? And the being, of course, very honestly and unknowingly says, okay, fine. If you can make sure they know and they give their, willing consent, fine. I don't think such a deal would be made, but let's just assume that it was. And I'll come back and tell you about that in part 4.